always love it. It's always a good sign when there's a big buzz in the cattle yard, and certainly today I can see everyone's very, very pleased to see each other. Warm welcome to Ron Heeks and for the Larvotto story today. And just want to got some great news on our sponsorship. And of course, I love doing this part because the sponsors are absolutely everything that keeps this wonderful club of ours going around. The reason that you don't pay membership fees is because our sponsors cover all the costs. You pay less than half for your lunch that we pay for it. So with the difference is made up with all the AV and the other costs of putting the show on is made up by our sponsors. So we have two new sponsors today, which is pretty exciting. And you see way down the end there, Broken Hill Mines. We had them on recently. We're really grateful that they've joined us. Very exciting addition to the family. And it's really nice the way people actually just, we don't go out looking for sponsors, but they find us, they join, and many of them have stayed for a very long time. Our other one is right up the other end, which is Inversia. And Inversia is a new company with a new concept, which is using AI to plough through all the green tape that you need and to distill solutions for you. So a very good time-saving, efficient way to see to your compliance. Inversia's up the other end. In between are all of our long-time steadies, New South Wales Minerals Council, which is Steve Galilee, would normally be doing a New South Wales show, but he's otherwise engaged. Taurus Funds Management, Fender Geophysics, Teach, the great engineering firm, Veritas, the stockbroking firm, CRE, mining insurance company, great supporters of the club. Our main pillars here, BDA Dolbear and Bear Dolbear, and of course AME Group have been the principal sponsors for quite a long time. Most grateful to them. Ioneer, the great lithium miner in Nevada. Kingsgate Consolidated, RFC Ambrian Funds Management, various things, including fund management, venture capital. AMEC, the Australian, the sort of other peak body of below the Minerals Council, or next to the Minerals Council in Canberra. APM Graphics, Research as a Service, and the wonderful new Inversia. So please join me in putting your hands together and thank these people for making the Sydney Mining Club possible. How good is that? Will, you've got a lineup for next month. Would you mind just introducing that? You got through for the evening event? Just come up and I'll get Will Jeffries to run us through that. Meanwhile, we're all, need I say it, well, why don't you get that out of the road? And have you got them on the tip of your tongue?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
Fire away, mate.
Next month we've got Kaiser Reef, exciting project with a new acquisition. We've got GTI Energy, which is uranium, ISR uranium in Wyoming. And we have Legacy Minerals back, the Drake project just west of Grafton. Got some really exciting results after a recent acquisition. So please come. Thank you.
That's, of course, that's an evening event, and for those who are new, we alternate. Hello, Mike. You alternate between this venue at lunchtime and the establishment for the evening leading edge series. Yeah, need I say it? We're all on the edge of our seats with this election bearing down on us. I think Gough Whitlam was the last time I can remember a government being so horrible to mining. At least he supported the nuclear industry, though. We do have our first nuclear election now, which is pretty amazing, and credit to those brave people. Ted O'Brien, who we've had quite a lot of dealings with, who's the Shadow Energy and Climate Minister, hopefully the actual minister. I've also been speaking with Susan McDonald, who's a Cloncurry girl who is the Shadow Minister for Resources, who we'll get to know. She wants to be in her own words, she wants to be mining's bestie when she's elected as Minister, so that sounds promising. Apparently she's already escalated the speed of granting mining leases in Queensland considerably. There was only 6 granted last year and it's already, I think they've got 21 through already, so they're really, she and her blue pals in the Queensland government are really accelerating that process, which is good. I had a chat with her on the phone morning before last, and they have promised to defund the EDO, which it's quite amazing that the EDO even got funding in the first place. It's just another activist group, but it's funded by the Australian government. That will be defunded. My suggestion to her was that they should have a anti-lawfare fund so that any company in distress, and I think of, in this state, I think of Regis with Blaney gold mine, I think of silver mines with the Bowden's silver mine issue. These are serious problems. But when companies get injured by this lawfare, you can't go back to shareholders. I mean, you know, Silver Mines has got to start crawling all the way around the Monopoly Board of approvals all the way over again over a trivial matter it got hung up on. So wouldn't it be good if there was a fund, federal fund, across all states, so whenever you encountered lawfare, there was a generous hand of help coming from the feds, because otherwise the federal government has difficulty influencing state politics, but this is a good reassuring way to lower your sovereign risk. And so she's open, you know, she was open to conversation. She's good, straightforward sort of minister, but you know, we're all, I think, living in fear of a minority government, and after this session of play, we just got to hang on and hope for the best, because our industry, no question, our industry has been getting a rubbishing right across the country, and it's pretty distressing. However, there's good news still. Enterprise still abounds. Good things still happening, and we're all out there still batting and driving the industry forward. And on that note, I'd like to introduce to the stage to tell us the Larvotto story, Ron Heeks, halfway through his lunch. We'll keep it for you, Ron.
Great pleasure to be here, and thanks for the opportunity to present. Talking about Larvotto today, and specifically our Hillgrove mine. We'll briefly mention some of the other things we're doing, but it's really all about Hillgrove. It's been a pretty impressive 12 months for us since we acquired the project, really, and you couldn't really make it up, to be quite honest, of how it's gone. It's been incredibly exciting to go from where we were to where we are, and watch the commodity and watch the interest in the whole thing. We're really talking about antimony. I think there's not much I could tell people about gold to this room, so we won't talk about the gold too much. We'll basically concentrate on the antimony side of things. And let's be honest, 12 months ago, 14 months ago, most people couldn't spell antimony, let alone pronounce it, and there's a big country east of where we sit now and they still can't pronounce it. It is actually antimony, not antimony. But it's gone off, and people are starting to understand what it is about, and hopefully we can shed a little bit of light on what's going on with antimony and how it is. In the great critical minerals list, it's about as critical as you can get. It's so far over the top of everything else. It's quite amazing, which is evidenced by some of the people who call us. And it's quite an unusual day when the US ambassador calls you up to ask you how the weather's going and things like that. So it really has been quite a wild ride, and it's not something that typically miners do, or certainly junior miners get into. Let's have a really quick run through straight off of antimony, just a quick overview with a bit of luck. Going well so far.
Antimony, the unsung hero in our tech-driven world. Meet antimony. This critical mineral is reshaping industries and driving technological advancements. Let's start with its roots. Antimony primarily comes from stibnite. Imagine a sleek metallic mineral with a purpose. This little element punches way above its weight. From solar panels harnessing the sun's power to fire retardants keeping us safe, antimony is everywhere. But it doesn't stop there. In the defense sector, it's critical in ammunition and military vehicles. Think safety and strategy all in one. And in technology, antimony plays a pivotal role in semiconductors and advanced lighting. It's the silent force making our gadgets smarter and brighter. Now let's zoom out. On a global map, you'll see why antimony is so crucial. The US, EU, UK, Japan, and Australia all list it as a critical mineral. Why? Because supply is limited and demand is high. China currently dominates the global production and supply of the antimony. In September 2024, China announced export controls. This has sparked a scramble. Nations are stockpiling antimony and searching for alternatives. This isn't just another mineral, it's a strategic asset shaping our future. Antimony, small element, big impact.
So let's have a look at what all that means. As I said, as far as critical minerals go, it's one of the big ones. We will supply 7% of world demand. Now, what does that mean? World demand, world usage is about 160,000 tonnes a year. 40,000 tonnes of that is recycled, predominantly in lead-acid batteries, which has an extremely high recycling rate. The world uses about 120,000 tonnes a year, and it currently mines about 80,000 tonnes a year. So if you look at that 80,000 tonnes, we'll produce about 7% of that. What it needs is a lot more. So we could open 6 of these projects and still not meet what's required, and the demand is increasing every year, largely because it's use in solar panels. We'll look at why the supply is decreasing, because there's very strong geological reasons before you get to political and any other reason of why supply is decreasing. The project itself is running at record prices. Antimony, we were with our off-takers last week in Hong Kong, and they are currently trading antimony at $60,000 a tonne. It was $9,000 a tonne when we bought the project. The project worked very well at $9,000 a tonne. $60,000 a tonne is quite nice. And of course we don't need to talk about gold, which is currently 3,150 or whatever it is. Some of these numbers are a bit old. It is a bit hard to keep up. We need to nearly make this slide interactive. On our PFS, we ran a $40,000 spot price on antimony, and that gave us a pre-tax NPV of 1.1 billion. The payback, 7 months, realistically now, much less than that. If you want to think about this in gold terms, as we're gold and antimony, and we talk AU equivalent, we'll talk about that in a minute. We're currently running at under minus $3,000 per ounce all-in sustaining cost for gold. So if you do the maths on that, we're knocking out 40,000 ounces a year at minus 3,000. It's quite an interesting game that we're in at the moment. Our market cap went through 400 million last week. I think, like everybody else, we've been smashed around the park this week a bit, but we went through 400 million. We started this at 6 cents and we went through $1 last week. So it's been a fairly wild ride. I think we won most improved last year. I think currently, or last week when I last looked, we're up about 1,400% for the year. So it has been a really interesting ride. Interestingly, there's really only 2 peers for us in the room. One is Perpetua in the US. They have a deposit that runs a grade of 0.07% antimony. We are 1.5. So they have to mine and process 8 million tonnes per annum and put it through a pressure ox surface to produce what we will produce from 500,000 tonnes per annum. It's a $2.5 billion build to do that, and they've got the odd environmental issues such as a river running through the middle of the project. So we don't think that one's going to come on in the near term. The other one really is Southern Cross Gold. I'm not sure if there's any of those guys here. They're here. Who have a wonderful project down in Victoria and doing a wonderful job of it. They've got an exploration team that is outstanding and are really setting the benchmark, and that project will come on, no doubt, but certainly not in the near term. but we do look forward to it coming on. And as I say, we can bring on a lot of these and it's still not going to affect what's going on in the world. So what's been happening? Gold price, well, we all know that one. It's gone up quite a lot. Antimony price, again, this slide was last week. It was 55,000, now it's 60,000. So it's actually, the price has gone up more in the last 2 weeks than what it was when we bought it. So it's really quite hard to keep up. What's that done to us? Well, the share price has gone from where we were when we acquired the project. We had quite good timing to get our initial PFS and ore reserve out at the same time that China banned the export of antimony, which made everybody go and have a look at it. And that was the first time that I'd say a fair few people had actually even come across it. The world's gone a bit crazy since then for us. If we have a look at where we are, we're in a very cost-effective location. We're 20 kilometres out of Armidale. It's a very unusual regional town. It's got a university. It's sitting in the middle of Wagyu Beef Central, so some very expensive farmland. It's a very different demographic, 35,000 people. You've got Tamworth right next door, boot scooting capital of the world, I believe. So within our area, there's probably about 170,000 people who are within driving distance of the mine. So we don't see this as a FIFO operation. All of our senior staff at the moment are actually based in Armidale, who have moved to Armidale. More than half of them because of the educational facilities in the town. It does have some of the best private schools in Australia. So it is unique from that point of view. It's only a 45-minute flight from Perth, longer if you fly Rex. So it is unique, and it keeps paying back in a big way, and will save us a lot of money. Not having a FIFO workforce means that people have gone there for the right reasons, and they're more likely to stay. They won't just jump on the next plane and fly to the next mine as they do in WA if they're unhappy. So it's an amazing place, and you can't put a number on what these things mean. If you can keep a regular workforce, and I won't name the company, but one that's recently gone down, they had a 200% staff turnover in 2 years. You can't put a number on what turning 200% of your workforce does in 2 years. Even your trainers haven't been there long enough to train the people that are coming in. So we are putting a huge amount of effort into ensuring that we've got a very strong team on site, and they will all be shareholders as well, but they are integral to what we do, and totally aware that most of the issues related to starting up new operations, particularly in WA, have been people related and getting them. So we're in a unique spot. Don't want to labour it too much, but from where we sit, it is the single highest risk with bringing a mine on these days, and that's the people. Our maiden ore reserve, 600,000 ounces at 6. That's with a heavy dilution factor. That draws from a mineral resource of 1.7 million ounces at 7.4 grams per tonne AU equivalent. Most of what we talk is AU equivalent. Not everybody might be on the page of what that means. To quote an AU equivalent, you have to build in metallurgical recovery. So you quote gold without metallurgy, and you quote antimony without metallurgy, but if you quote an equivalent, you have to build in metallurgy. So that 7.4 allows for 90% metallurgical recovery. So it's a really funny way of doing it. It's one that strictly I don't agree with, but that's talk to ASX about that one. So when you look at the 7.4, that's arguably lower than what you would normally be thinking, because it does have that 90% recovery built into it. So think about that one. Our exploration target sitting over the top of that is another 1 million tonnes, and we'll have a good look at that later on and see what that means. We don't think that's expansive at all. We've just taken the mineralisation that we have and extended down to the deepest mineralisation in the field to come up with that number. Some of the best hits we've had already. One of our first holes proved beyond doubt that as the ore zone gets better, like a lot of these ore bodies around the world, you tend to get increasing gold numbers, and having a hit at 31 at 2 ounces is not a bad way to start your exploration. A little bit corporately, we're pretty simple really, 400 million shares out there, a few options, a few performance rights. As I say, we're bringing the staff along with us on this one, so we're rewarding them for their efforts on the way through. Share price when this was done was $1, and market cap 410, as we said. Cash at bank there, that's a reported figure. It's actually about 7 million higher than that. So we're well cashed up at the moment. And our 12-month liquidity, I think we're actually pushing 6 million shares turnover a day, which for a junior is exceptional to do that on a consistent basis. Board and management speak for about 4% of the company. Our major shareholder, Gage, a Beijing-based fund, who allowed us to do the transaction in the first place, funded us when nobody else in Australia would. Been a wonderful shareholder. Were higher up, haven't participated for a while, and are now sitting at 15, which is a very nice spot. But as a shareholder, can't say anything bad about them. 1832 out of Canada. They know the story of Perpetua in the US. They know antimony, and came in quite amazingly and bought pretty well everything they own on market without even asking us, which is quite incredible. And the top 40, a very good collection of high net wealths and funds, so the register's looking pretty good, and there's also enough out there that we're getting the free float, which is driving turnover, which people like to think that they can come in and get out. The board, we've got a very good collection of extremely highly experienced mining ladies. In there we've got some excellent technical people, and that's been built up, and we've got two grumpy old men sitting over the top to keep the whole thing under control. So it's a really good mix of younger people, older people, all with incredible mine experience. I think there's over 250 years experience just on that screen, and that's nowhere near the whole team. Antimony, let's talk about that a little bit more. What's been driving the use around the world really is solar panels. That's an increasing market. Every solar panel has 40 grams of antimony in it. And that brings me to another point that's actually quite interesting, that most things that antimony gets used for, there's very little amount in it, in each individual item. As say, different from lithium, where in a car it's probably 60% of the cost, a battery it's probably 80% of the cost. Solar panel, you can't make an effective, efficient solar panel without antimony. There's about $2.50 worth of antimony in there. If the price went 5 times from now, it means the solar panel costs $10 more. It really doesn't make a lot of difference. In military uses, all military lead has about 2.5% antimony in there. Per bang, not a lot. Same in fire retardants, the amount of antimony that's used is very low. Electronics, it's very low, but it's used in a lot of things. So you get a lot of use from a very small thing. So price of the individual item isn't affected as it is by some other things. And that's a pretty interesting point. So it gets used in defence, and that's certainly an interesting one at the moment. Most defence organisations and countries around the world have just run out of antimony. Some of the phone calls we get suggest that they've really run out of antimony. US stockpiles pretty close to zero, arguably negative. Since China stopped their ban, that came in really for the Americans pretty well over Christmas. And no doubt somebody turned up on the 1st of January and opened the stockpile door and said something like, oh gosh, we don't have any of this stuff left, and we absolutely need it. So that's been a really interesting conversation, given that the US doesn't mine antimony and hasn't mined since around about 2000, and doesn't really process it in any way. So they have to get it from outside the country. Another big use, traditional one, was fire retardants, and that's steady growth. It sort of goes with world population. The new interesting one with that one is that after the horrendous Grenville fire in the UK, where the apartment block went up, most of the major cities in Europe and the 5 largest cities in China have all said if you build a building more than 5 stories high and it's got cladding on it, it's got to have antimony in it. Now that's a pretty recent one, and nobody really knows what that means, but it's another use that's come out, and it's quite interesting how many conversations you have in Sydney in particular where you mention that and people say, yeah, that's funny, our strata title have mentioned that we've got to change the cladding on our apartment block. And that's because it doesn't have antimony in it. So it's hidden away in all these weird and wacky things that people have never ever heard of. Why can we do what we're about to do, and I'll go through the numbers a bit more shortly. We've got a processing plant on site. It's probably got a replacement value of $200 million. We will double the capacity of this. That's a pretty simple task. It's really putting in a secondary crusher. So it's not a big job at all in the great scheme of things. For some reason, it never had a secondary crusher there, but we'll put that in, and it makes the ball mill incredibly efficient and does what it's meant to do. That plant has produced antimony concentrate and gold concentrate and gold doré before, so we're not asking it to do anything that it hasn't already done, so not a huge technological leap there. We have been doing a large amount of metallurgy on the samples to build up better profiles, and we think that we should be able to tweak the plant to do a little bit better. And we're not talking sheep stations here, we're talking 1 or 2%, but every 1% is about $30 million on the bottom line, so it's well worth the effort to do that. So the plant's there. We also have about $150 million of underground development. There's the best part of 12 months all ready to go, so it's straight into the decline, a little bit of rehab on the way through, fixing up a bit of the meshing, but essentially ready to go. So all up, you know, there's somewhere north of $300 million worth of infrastructure already on site, and this plant was running in 2022 doing all the things that we're going to ask it to do now. So as a project de-risked, probably the best one I've seen in 40 years, to be quite honest. We're not asking anything that hasn't already happened here. The underground mining has happened, and in this area has happened for well over 100 years. So in 1904, the English touring cricket team were taken underground at Hillgrove. Why there wasn't an accident down there, I don't know, but because it would have been the easiest way to clean up that series. But so it's been going on for a long time, and it did run as an antimony-only operation for 30 years up until about 2005, when New England Antimony Mines, and I met a gentleman here whose father was, where is he? Over here, whose father ran the mine back then. So it's amazing how many people we come across that have actually worked at Hillgrove. So they produced antimony for 30 years, different plant, not this one, it was much smaller, but that was done. They didn't really extract the gold out of that. Their tails dam is sitting off to the side. That has about 1.5 million tonnes of dirt, and it runs 1.6 grams. So it's higher grade than most West Australian ore bodies, and we will recover that as we go through. So it's a pretty interesting de-risked project. Looking at the PFS, and to be quite honest, the PFS is pretty well out of date now. It's only 6 months old, but we're just about to come out with a DFS. We were meant to come out with it. I did promise it at the end of the month, and quite amazing how many emails you can get when you don't do that with a fair bit of vitriol, I must admit. But because we changed from a wet tails dam to a dry stack, which is becoming very, very popular in this part of the world, we had a little bit more engineering to do than what we originally thought, so we should have that DFS out. It's been written up at the moment, and if we didn't have Easter and Anzac Day sitting in the middle of the month, it'd be out quicker. So the engineering package that went into the dry stack is really quite interesting. Why did we do that? We're a smaller operation. Our tails dam was always going to be fairly small. It's got to be lined. We don't have waste to build it because we don't produce a lot of waste, so we've actually got to dig holes to make waste. With the environmental issues, rehabilitation issues, things like that, if we looked at the 20 things that one would do to assess this, everyone said go for a dry stack landform. You don't even have to deal with the tailings people in the mines department at this point because it is just a landform. It means we can do it on our current mining lease. The cost is nearly identical. It means that we can rehab as we go along rather than a wet tails dam that you really can't rehab until the day you finish. So your bonding is arguably a lot less because you can show that you're doing it on the way through rather than finishing it off at the end. It works incredibly well for us. So spending an extra 2 weeks to optimise that, we think was worthwhile process. What are we producing? 40,000 ounces of gold, 5,500 ounces of antimony. In the PFS, on the numbers that we used there, which was 2,000 gold and 15,000 antimony, it was about equal money from both. So 40,000 ounces of antimony equivalent, if you want to think about it in gold terms, plus the 40,000 ounces of gold. At the moment, we're definitely an antimony mine with gold credits, not the other way. So, and the spot prices here were actually, they're getting a bit dated now, they were actually run at $40,000 a tonne for antimony, which is what it was. So you will see that we're considerably better than what that was now, up at 60, and also gold somewhat higher as well. And in Aussie numbers, you know, we're very close to 100,000 a tonne antimony, and well, we're through 5,000 gold. So in Aussie, it looks really quite nice. And all of this means that we should be producing ore this time next year. So it'd be wonderful to come back and have another chat and say that we're doing it. So we will be producing a commodity that is critical to the world, in actual fact, for all sorts of reasons. And all things being equal, yes, this time next year we will be doing that. So where are we? We've completed the plant upgrade study. That led to the feasibility. That was the first time reserves had come out from us. The metallurgy's done. The definitive feasibility is just about there. We're well advanced with project finance. We do have probably 7 of the top 10 mining funds from around the world in our data room at the moment. There is a lot of interest from a lot of players to do this, even the ones that we wouldn't normally talk to because we don't actually need that much money to do this. So most of them wouldn't normally write a ticket that we require. It's too small, but everybody is pretty keen to be able to say they've funded a critical minerals project. So the interest that we've had shown in that is exceptional, and that's progressing very, very well. We've got final investment decision to be made after that. I think we made it about 8 and 9 months ago, but officially we'll be making it after that happens. And then we commence upgrading the plant and mining at the same time so that we'll have a stockpile ready when the plant goes. And all things being equal, and if the New South Wales government comes along for the ride, that will happen mid-year. We'll get into that to start production at the end of the year. We have an offtake partner in Wogan Resources. Wogan are a UK-based company. You can't get too much more UK-based than these guys. Their office wall is Westminster Abbey, so it's a pretty interesting place to go. Don't take a taxi. They're the world's largest antimony traders, and we're very happy to have them on board. They did pay for the privilege of coming along on the ride for us, but antimony trading is a little bit of a dark art, as you can imagine, the small numbers, and to have a specialist crew like that who have offices all around the world is a very good thing for us. We haven't tied up the gold offtake yet, but we're plotting on that. There's absolutely no hurry to do that. That's a very easy thing to do. We also produce gold doré, and that's a phone call, so we don't have to worry about that. With Wogan, the antimony offtake is for the initial 7 years of the operation, and that's mine gate. So once it leaves the mine gate, we don't have to worry about it anymore. Whereas the gold concentrate will probably be sold via CIF, so we've got to get involved with moving it to wherever it's got to go. Previously, in our predecessors, the gold concentrate was going to Mount Isa with Glencore, and they love it. So we're not expecting too many issues moving that side of things. As I said, financing discussions are coming along very, very well, and we're in a very good position to do this. We're also running an extremely aggressive exploration program, which we'll get into shortly. We raised 30 million pre-Christmas. We also had 10 million come in from our options, from IPO options, so that put a fair bit of money in the bank that was quite unexpected up until that period of time. We have allocated the vast majority of that to exploration. That should increase the mine life. We think as we get deeper, the grade will come up, but there's also a lot to be done going shallower in actual fact, and we'll talk about that more as we go through. Optimising the metallurgy will put more on the bottom line, and who knows where antimony and the gold pricing is going. So what we're going to do is run a very aggressive exploration program at the same time as we go mining. As we say, we've got 4 rigs going there now. I'll jump through that one. What happens around the world? This is a schematic through the section. A lot of the ore bodies around the world are quite similar to this. What you tend to get from surface for the first few hundred metres is higher antimony with gold. Then you get a gold antimony zone, which is where most of our resources and reserves sit at the moment, and deeper down from that you tend to get a bit more gold. Most of the effort at this mine has been in that gold antimony zone or a little bit deeper down, and they could go there very quickly because there's a 500 metre deep gorge in the project. Our decline is half gorge and half underground, so we've probably got the only open air decline in the world that I know of. You can look at the kangaroos as you go underground. But this means that we can go up and go get more antimony, which wasn't really interesting to a lot of people, so it also means that we can come down from the top, and we'll look at that later. And if we go down, we're still getting good antimony, but deeper down in the system, we're probably going to transition in some areas to gold, and that hit of 31 metres at 2 ounces was one of the deepest holes drilled in the field. We've got multiple reefs, as you'll see when we have a look at the plan of this, so there's a lot to be done. Our resources and reserves, as you'll see, are not extensive within the zone. They're largely historical. We haven't done a lot of this. It was all done for us. There are thousands of drill holes into this. It's an extremely well-known ore body, and getting back to the risk, it's pretty low because there's a good understanding of it, and we can actually drive into our ore body. And if you have a look at our website, you'll see the local Channel 7 news crew doing just that, much to the amazement of the reporter, who will probably never ever do it again in his life. But it's a very easy place to get into and operate. It's a very dry mine as well. As you can see from the section there, the open areas are at depth. These ore bodies tend to go deeper. The Southern Cross guys sitting over here will be the first ones to stick their hand up and say, yes, that's how it goes, because they've been drilling a lot deeper, a lot longer holes than what we have. So what are we doing on our exploration target? As I say, all we've done there is extend the known zones down below the current workings. So we've said come down here, across here, and all we've done is extend those to the deepest known mineralisation in the field. So we haven't gone deeper than that. Realistically, these things keep going down, and I think Southern Cross are probably drilling at sort of this depth down here, to be quite honest, from where we are. So we think there's a huge upside to go deeper in multiple zones, but there's also a huge upside to go back up and get the higher antimony gold zones that previously caused a lot of problems for people. Back in the 60s and pre that, nobody really wanted antimony too much, but also metallurgically it was a bit of an issue. And if you think of operations like Fosterville in Victoria, where they struggled for many, many years until the Canadians came in, and they ended up, turning up just at the right time to be down here somewhere. But they had all sorts of metallurgical issues because they had antimony and the process plant wasn't set up to handle anything like that. So this is one of those systems. Most of them are around the world. Why is world production declining from where it was back to 80,000 tonnes a year? And the Chinese, for example, production there has decreased 75% over the last decade or so. Why is that? Because they've been mining this bit at the top with a high antimony for 30, 40 years consistently. It's gone. So geologically, they've run out of this stuff. There was a lot said about environmental reasons, but let's be honest, If there's an environmental reason in China, I think they'll solve it. And so what's happened is that this production has been there because they've just run out. And it's happening at all these deposits, and they've been mined extensively for, you know, some of them in case hundreds of years, but certainly very extensively over the last 30, 40. So they'd still be extremely profitable mines, but they're down here with more gold. And interestingly, we know that some of them are having a bit of an issue because their concentrate is now gold and antimony mixed together, and they don't get very good payables for the gold, whereas we produce an antimony concentrate separate. They go to different parts, and we get good payables on both. So what do we got looking at plan? This is the other dimension. That line that we're looking at there was probably drawn through there. It was very schematic. We've got our gorge sitting in the middle, but we've probably got 20 kilometres plus of strike of these zones within 5 kilometres of the mine. And the evidence of this is our Baker's Creek, our Clark's Gully deposit right up here in the north end. We've put out a release on some of the drilling here. We've got a resource and a reserve on this project. There's a lot more to do at depth and along strike here, but there's some wonderful intersections in there from surface of things like 10 metres at 20 grams equivalent and 20 metres at 10 grams equivalent. You're getting higher antimony with the gold from surface. That's the top of the zone. Historically, people didn't want these things because metallurgically it was difficult. They couldn't do what they did, whereas we have the plant that can take that out and specifically process that. So what we've got is what we've got is Baker's Creek, Clark's Gully sitting up here. We've got all of these zones that extend all up here, and there's random drill hits over there that have been put in the last 30, 40, 50 years where they've hit something and it's got interesting gold and it's got antimony and we can't do anything with it, let's forget about it. So there's a huge amount of along surface follow-up to be done here to exploit those deposits from the top down, let alone from the bottom up, before you get deeper down into the zones. So it's a bit unusual to be talking about going up rather than going down. And then you also get the interesting things that our lead deposit, and where we'll start mining here at the Mets area at Syndicate, is a splay off the main trend. And these really haven't been looked at all. And most of the zones were identified because the gorge system cut them, and they're sticking out in the side of the gorge. So the old timers just went straight in because it was level, it was high gold, so they just went straight in there. So the splays really haven't had a good look at, but most of our resources as they sit are sitting in one of those splays. So there's a huge amount to be done in that region as well. Really not much to say. We are starting an IP, whoops, easy did it again. We are starting an IP program up here. It's a great place for us to start an IP program. It's a cleared paddock because we do, funnily enough, own about $10 million worth of local farmland as well. And so it's a great place to do it. We've got a resource, we've got a reserve there, putting an IP program over the top, and if it can't find the ore body, we'll probably never use it again. But we do think it'll actually work, and we will then move that along the strike of these things, and if we can go in without drilling and identify and narrow down targets, certainly near surface of IP and potentially even deeper down, and we're looking at other geophysical methods to help us do that as well. So some of the best intercepts there, Clark's Gully and Baker's Creek, 22 metres at 9 equivalent, 7 at 22, and they're all very shallow intercepts. So that actually will be a small open pit there with a box cut off the bottom. It's actually more efficient to us to mine the geometry of these ore bodies underground. We've got 4 rigs on site at the moment. We've got another one coming on. We're spending about $4 million a month on exploration, so very aggressive on that. Some of the initial results have come out last week with 100-gram hits and 180-gram hits. I've revved up the team to get on the page with the Southern Cross guys over here. We've got a 2,000-gram hit, so we've got a ways to go yet, but the boys are on the job. and there's a bottle of red on it for them if they get one. So we'll see how they go. Yeah, it's an interesting place to explore because of the topography. It does make life a bit challenging for us. It's not as simple as it could be. But we're starting to understand it. We're starting to get better at it. We're realistically only month 3 on this. We did start just before Christmas with one rig, but other rigs coming on. So we've now got, what have we got? 35 in the drill team on site. So we've got drillers all over the place, which is never a good thing traditionally. So I suppose the key takeaways from this is we've got Australia's largest antimony project. We've got the 8th largest in the world, and it's probably higher up, to be quite honest, because most of the ones are quoted out of China and the various stands haven't changed for 15 years, and you can guarantee they've been mined. So we're probably a little bit higher up than that. The offtake is done with Wogan, which is really important. The PFS demonstrates extremely good economics for the project, but all the numbers have changed. They're now a lot higher. We've modified things by putting in the dry stack, and that will change where money is spent. There will be a little bit more up front now because the tails dam and the main capex for the tails dam was actually happening in year 2 after we filled the current dam. But with the dry stack, that will be moved forward. So there's a few changes going on around that. But we will supply 7% of world antimony. And we bought this project for $3 million. And that includes the $10 million worth of farmland. So if it all goes south, we've still got Wagyu beef up our sleeve, which is handy to know. And that's pretty well us. I've got no idea how long that took. Thank you. How long did that take?
Took the perfect amount of time, didn't it?
Did it? I don't know.
As long as it took.
Normally a clock.
We do have a roving mic, some questions. I'm sure there are many. I can see a couple already, maybe down here for a start. I've got a couple of my own too. But
if I can, I'll drag up my chairman as well, Mark Tomlinson,
yeah, please.
to help me answer some of these questions. Mark and I essentially put the company together a couple of years ago. Mark is the hardest working chairman. Apologies to any other chairman who might be in the room, but
yeah, right,
is easily the, except for you, Julian, I forgot, sorry, is easily the hardest working chairman I've ever come across, and as a mentor, second to none. As he points out, in the couple of years we've been doing this, which have been quite intensive, we've actually never disagreed with anything, and anybody who knows me knows that that's pretty amazing. So it's been a great event, and to set the company up in the first place, to be quite honest, which was all done on Teams because we did it in the middle of COVID just to add to the fun level over the whole thing. It's been a unique ride, and largely due to Mark's mentoring over the top. So having praised him up, we'll see if he can answer the questions.
And just a little plug before we get in there too. Thank you to Carlos Crowley from Blue Ocean for putting you guys forward too. There he is. Thank you, mate. Question over here, please.
Ron, 2 questions. My name's Rob. Well done, firstly, very entertaining. The other mine sites that you've got around West Australia, Queensland and New Zealand, are you basically ignoring those, probably for good reason, if you are? And the second question is...
I suppose I'd better do that one as a GA, so, sorry.
Second question is life of the mine. Do you reckon this is going 20, 30, 40 years?
20's not hard to see at all, yeah. 20's not hard to see at all. Yeah, what are we doing? Mount Isa, we're seriously considering selling our Land Cruisers up there and buying boats because it just does not stop raining up there. I thought everybody said it's really dry. It's not. You can basically row there from Brisbane these days. No, we're certainly, the team are trying to get on the ground now. We own 1,000 square kilometres of ground just east of Isa. It's a wonderful package of ground, and there's a huge amount to be done in that part of the world, both grassroots, more advanced, and also corporately, to be quite honest. So as we move forward, it could be really interesting what happens in that part of the world. yeah, it's a great package of ground, but I think history has shown that underground makes more sense than open cut up there because you end up with a swimming pool. But yeah, great. Our project, Eastern Norseman, essentially rare earths. We went there for, well, in fact, it's a package of ground. I've never worked on a package of ground that's got the potential for so many different things. There's certainly high nickel potential. There's always gold potential in that part of the world. There's lithium. Liontown have got a lithium deposit directly across the road from where we are. And we found a lot of rare earths. In fact, we've got some of the highest grade rare earths around in clays. They're not ionic. The clays are ionic, but the mineralisation isn't, as most people have identified in their areas. We've got a couple of unique things going down there that I really can't talk about because we haven't said anything about it, but one of the benefits of this is that we now have a full-time metallurgist in our Perth office who, I'm sure he won't mind, but he's a geek metallurgist, a PhD guy who researches this, and we're just starting our research into the rare earth side. We already know some really, really interesting things about the deposit because we drilled, enough to know that we had something really big, and it wasn't much. And then really, rather than spend millions of dollars drilling the thing out, went straight to metallurgy and said, can we make it work before we go and spend $10 million drilling the whole thing out? We came across some really unique things, and one of the great things about the world at the moment is the instruments that have been out there for a long, long time have finally hit their straps. To me, it's like the smartphone has met the need, and it's all happened at one time. So for those sort of interested in that on the mineralogy side, there's some great tools out there to really get into the mineralogy. The assays are really quite insignificant in some of these things. It's all about the mineralogy, as the lithium guys will tell you. So we went straight there and found out some really fascinating things. So we're starting some intensive work on that, but it's fair to say it's a slow burn, and nobody gives a bugger, to be quite honest. So, but, it'll probably take a year or 18 months to get to that point, and we'll see where rare earths are at that time, but it's a very interesting project. And there's still the gold potential and other potential up there. It's an amazing little belt of ground. It's really never been explored. And compared to Mount Isa, which is one of the interesting, physically interesting places to drive around, it's a beautiful part of the world. Norseman is easily one of the most boring parts of the world. There's looking at the air photo and going there is exactly the same thing. So, but yeah, quite exciting. New Zealand was a project that had a lot of potential. We put a fair bit of effort into it. It was a wonderful story. I think realistically we've probably turned up there somewhere between 2 and 5 million years too early. So it's probably going to get mineralised when I'm not around. But it's everything was set there. There's about 1 million ounces of gold just sitting on the project area, but at 0.1, 0.2. So massive amount of gold in the system that just isn't quite there yet. If you go 100 kilometres further down the belt, then it's probably the place to be. So we're just pondering that one at the moment.
There's a hand up for a question over here, Isabel. Yeah, just a point on the critical minerals. I mean, critical minerals, the main purpose of critical minerals seems to be the creation of new government departments around the world that run around like the sky's falling. A lot of businesses like the neodymium, praseodymium for supermagnets, the market's still really immature, but it just shows you that the reality is behind. With antimony, the reality is that suddenly you can run out. And so even though Lynas is trying to find a market for its products, any time the stockpiles run out, they can go big. So where was that one? Ray Binns, I think. Yeah.
Yes, back to Hillgrove. I worked there, as I mentioned to you earlier, in the days of NEEM, and had a lot of students working there. One of the things that they saw was that there was quite a bit of scheelite in the lodes in the western part of the field.
Scheelite being the tungsten mineral.
Scheelite being a tungsten mineral, yeah.
We're keeping that a secret.
It's, Ron says that's a secret apparently, right?
Well, I don't know whether it's widely known, but my question is, have you seen any, and have you been trying to assess whether that's another product that you could produce.
I get a chance to speak. Thanks, Ron. Basically, yes. We know it's there. The tailings, the 1.5 million tonnes of tailings from the Neem period have scheelite, have tungsten in it. 600 ppm, I think, is the number. Very, very fine. We're not sure if we can recover it. We're going to do some met work on that to see if we can. You can get core out, and we've had core out, and when we have sort of site visits and everything, you run a blue light over it, it lights up. So yes, there's tungsten there, but what we've found mostly is that it hasn't been always assayed for. But what we've done just recently is some of the drilling that we've done and the resource work that we're updating at the moment, we are doing some work on the tungsten, and we certainly have assayed for it. So there may be something that comes out that sort of mentions that going forward, but can't discuss too much more than that.
We've got another one there. I've got one in the meanwhile. Obviously, okay, down here. With the topography, you've got a big opportunity with these lovely rivers and streams down below. How's the department breathing on you to keep them in shape? What do? You're obviously lining a tailings storage facility. Just a little bit on how that works, and also what's the actual mining width, and what sort of machine have you got? These are sub-vertical structures, and just might add a little colour with those two questions, and then we'll take that one.
Thanks, Julian. Probably to answer the second part of that first, this is typical. Hillgrove is typical. Most of the ore bodies are like most of the antimony ore bodies around the world. They're narrow, high-grade ore bodies. We were planning our maximum mining width around a 2.8 metre maximum width. I think some of the issues that we've sort of seen in the past, and I think sort of post-Neem in some of the periods that perhaps the incorrect too big mining gear was used, or the stope designs weren't sort of the correct designs, and so we ended up with too much dilution. We're incredibly focused, and a lot of the ITE and the independent technical expert work that we're doing now to verify our mine plan is around ensuring that the dilution is absolutely kept to a minimum. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, the other one was about drainage and...
You can do the first bit, mate. It's your area. The drainage down the rivers.
The rivers, yeah. We keep well away from the rivers, to be quite honest, and for all sorts of reasons. But certainly what we do have to do is the original tails dam there is one of our promises that we will retreat that and store it properly. It's not a good dam. It's quite unique, I suppose. There's not too many places you can stand on the edge of a tails dam wall and look down 500 metres. I'm not sure how many bottles of red you would have had to drink to put that dam there, but it's not in a good spot. But it is running 1.6 grams gold, so it does have "Please Retreat Me" written all over it. So we will do that and put it into a proper storage facility. We had the head of the EPA out a couple of months ago, and his comment was the best thing that can ever happen here is you guys get back into production as soon as humanly possible. Wow. So, that's something that we're actually looking forward to doing, because it's cleaning up one of the problems that mining didn't do it all that well back in the day. So we think about these things a lot more these days, and it's easy to justify people. Yes, we are doing the right thing morally, but also we're going to make really good money out of it. So when you tell them that, they believe you. So it sort of works both ways. It's a win-win for us and the local area.
Just sort of one final point on the looking after the rivers downstream. We drain from Bakers Creek into the Macleay River, of course, which goes all the way down to Kempsey and the coast, and there are friends of the Macleay River as a group we have interacted with, and got to be, I suppose, the memory that you have to have is that the gorges system, it's an absolutely beautiful area. So coming off the plateau, incredibly deep gorges all around it. So nature's been doing the erosion. So they've already taken, as the schematic shows, they've been taking ore bodies down the hill and down the river for eons. So, those rivers and those sediments are already full of metals. So it's not something that we're going to have had it. And maybe the environmental standards in 1900 at Bakers Creek, and when they denuded the entire place, wasn't the right way to go, but it's certainly nothing that we'll be doing hopefully we will do it to a much higher standard than that, and nothing goes down, basically.
Yeah, great. Yeah, okay. Glad I asked the question. Andy.
Yeah, sorry, Andy Shaw. Thanks very much for a very insightful presentation, and it's great to see Mark again after so many years. You wear just about as well as me, I think. But yeah, I guess my question is really more on the sort of marketing situation that you find yourselves in these geopolitical times. And it's a bit like trading on eggshells, I guess. You know, the US is obviously going through a transition, let's call it. Attitudes towards China are variable and changing and likely to change again. That's a pretty difficult backdrop for you with a critical mineral, as to how you sort of maintain flexibility about which way the world goes in that sense. And by the way, Armidale is a great place, and there's a fantastic pub there called the Welder's Dog, and I'd be happy to share a pint with you there anytime.
Thanks for that, Andy. I'll give you that $20 later on. The offtake agreement that we have with Wogan, the more we went into it, and over the course of last year, we signed a term sheet with them. And we met them basically the week that we signed the DOCA to acquire Hillgrove on December 15 months ago. So we met them then. We signed a term sheet with them in March last year. We didn't actually sign the offtake till December. And the longer we went, and now as well, the more thankful Ron and I and the crew are, is that we've signed an offtake agreement so that we're not trying to sell antimony, because it's, you know, I suppose the rough figures are 85% of the processing capacity for antimony is in China. 5 main groups, long-standing relationships that, you know, the traders all have with those groups. There are also small smelting groups outside of China for the other 15%, but they're spread through Vietnam, India, Belgium. There's 2 tiny smelters in North America. That's it. And that's probably the big thing to answer your question, Andy, is that you're exactly right. I mean, this is a very, very strange time. There's a complete bifurcation in the pricing at the moment. There's a Shanghai price, which is in the low 30,000s, versus the Rotterdam price, which is 60,000, or screens are showing 55, but we know it's already been sold at 60. So the US is the sort of key player in this. So China's the processing king, but the US requires 35–40% of global antimony every year. They now only, as of 15th December last year, when China banned exports, they now only have access to the 15% of processing and processed antimony outside of China. So there's 15%. If they could get all of it, then they need 40%. Now, it doesn't take too many slide rules. Richard, you've got a slide rule still, haven't you? You know, to work out that mathematics doesn't work. So and given, you know, as Ron was saying, Chinese mining supply is down over 70% in a dozen years. That structural decline. Now, there will be a supply response. Every commodity will have that when the price is up 6 times as it is now. So there will be, people will get a couple of shovelfuls out and a few wheelbarrows like they are in Tasmania. More will come on, but you can't bring on 6 Hillgroves and bring them on like that. So there's going to be a dislocation in the market for several years. You can't build smelting capacity. Well, you certainly, hands up anyone in this room who thinks you can build a smelter in Australia. Yeah, correct.
Great. How are we looking? One down here. We have got more time, so if you're curious, pipe up. But we'll wrap up as soon as we're through our questions.
Thank you for taking my question. Just 2 or 3 questions. The first one is in your presentation, you're talking about the project. You mentioned something, you still need a New South Wales government. Can you give us a bit of specifics on that? And second one is regarding the finance. I mean, I look at the CapEx, you need a capital requirement, probably $73 million, and you have $35 million now. So probably by the time you start the project, you probably have to raise more than $100 million. So can you also give us some color about, you know, have you secured the finance? And the last one is, I forgot the last one, so anyway, just...
That's right. Just on
Did you catch
the first one, no, that was
Something to do with the New South Wales government.
we're working. We've had meetings yesterday as part of a group function with Minister Hussos from the Mines Department, companies canvassing with her, Chatham Rules about sort of issues that the companies from explorers to producers. The head of there is, of course, is from Regis, and so he was in the room as well. So they're well aware and they know our position and what we need. We also are having meetings with the Planning Department Minister while we're here in Sydney. So, and we've had a great deal of help. I don't know where I can't see Christy, and the AMEC team have been, there they are up in the back, they've been fantastic in assisting us with going through the process with government and highlighting the issues. I mean, every project and getting through your permitting, and there's always things that maybe don't go as quickly as what we want, and so they've been, we've had a lot of help with that. So we're working through that. There's no huge roadblocks. This thing worked before. It's been permitted before, and it will be permitted again. The second one was, what was it again? Finance. The finance. Yeah, we are, look, call it. There's a couple of financiers in the room. I'm looking at one right now. We have, as Ron said, we've already got term sheets from a number of the usual players in the debt and project finance space. We've had some great support in equity markets. We've got Aiken Mount and Jamie Campbell up the back, and we've got Richard Saywell here and Carlos from Blue Ocean, and Richard Granger's here in the room too. I can't see Richard. They've been absolutely fantastic with us, and I think it's fair to say we've raised equity through the course of last year very, very easily, and I've absolutely no problem. Should we want to raise further equity, which is not necessarily in the plan at the moment, we could do so pretty easily. We've done it before. It was my former job, so we keep them honest.
Yep. Right. Do you need a mic, Will?
What does Larvotto mean?
What?
Sorry, that's it.
What is a Larvotto?
That's I can't believe that you're actually asking that question, Jim. Everyone knows it's the next beach around from Monte Carlo. And so when we started the company, we enacted a rule that we have to have all of our board meetings on the beach in Monte Carlo. So, and it's worked out really well so far. I've never been there.
And just for another spin on that, interestingly, you can tell the influence of the ladies in the room on the company, but the logo is a seahorse, which we were led to believe we'd go for because it can look both ways, which is quite interesting. What it really turns out is that male seahorses look after the kids. So we're a very touchy-feely mining company here.
Well, just as well near Armidale as well. But it looks like we've got another one over here, but probably pulling up maybe after that one. But
my name's Caleb. Thank you for taking my question. Just wanted to know, you said the ambassador, the US ambassador, gave you a call. I'd love to know what he wanted.
What? It's a she.
Oh, she.
Or it was a she. And JFK's daughter, in actual fact. But, yeah, interested in what was happening with the antimony and who you're talking to, and likewise. And we also talk with Kevin Rudd, which is somebody who I didn't think I'd actually ever be talking to, but there you go. So, hello, Kevin.
Yeah. Your face rings a bell.
Yeah. And as we've had incredible support, in actual fact, from a Liberal senator in South Australia, David Fawcett. Senator Fawcett, sorry, I'm terrible with names, who spoke about us in the Senate, and much to my amazement, and I sent him an email, and about 45 minutes later he gave me a call, and we've talked on numerous occasions now, but he's actually been into Pentagon and talking about us and how it fits in. He's very, very aware, probably the most aware federal politician on this issue. He's ex-military, he's a scientist. used to run the Air Force Research and Development Unit down in Edinburgh. He has a very, very high level understanding of critical minerals and what they require, and he has really pushed our case quite incredibly and putting in touch with people. Having said all that, no government department is going to be able to move fast enough to keep up with us. Yes, particularly US. You know, we're looking at having this funded within the very, very near term, trying to get the US government to move in that sort of time frame. And, you know, at these commodity prices, it's not worth waiting 12 months to get 2% less interest rate. Get in there and do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an amazing commodity. I've a bit to do with it some time back, but antimony trioxide is the fire retardant white powder oxide impregnated into plastic. If that plastic was forced to flame in an oven, set on fire at temperature, if you pull it out, it self-extinguishes. So that's why if you ever see plastic in an aeroplane or anywhere critical, and you want to know why it's not going to burn, it's because it's got antimony trioxide, pentoxide in it, correct?
Indeed, and a lot of children's clothing has antimony embedded in it as well. Particularly back in the day when particularly girls with 90s and everybody had Kero heaters and they went woof, so antimony was used for that as well. So it's got quite an amazing list of uses.
Yeah, so look, that's I think that's a pretty good wrap up. All the can't see any more hands left, but Will, we got a gift for these guys. The gentlemen, this is a traditional gift to the Sydney Mining Club. It is we think it's the flag of the Australian people. It's definitely the flag of the of miners. It is the Eureka flag, and it is not the property of the CFMEU, if that still exists. But it is a symbol of Australian enterprise. Why a government shouldn't tax people too much, and why a government under no circumstances should kill its own people over taxation. That's our, we give it a very different meaning. We'd love it if you hung it somewhere with an explanation underneath that this is the miners' flag. It's not a redneck flag. It's not to be conflated with the rebel flag in the US, but it's we have them specially made in long life material. Hope you can.
With antimony, hopefully, for a...
I've no doubt. I've no doubt.
We don't want it to go whoomp. Thank you. I do know the flag. I'm School of Mines Ballarat. Not that it exists anymore, but that was actually our flag at uni, so I do know that. Know that flag. It was created just down the road, in fact, from where I went to school. So,
well, that means a lot to you then.
And the guy that did it, I've actually been to his grave, in actual fact. So, but, yeah, interesting chappy.
And the original was actually made in a different proportion from materials that they just happened to have. I think a blanket and a few other bits and pieces. So, but ended up contributing very importantly to our constitution. It's a song not sung often enough about what a great day that was, and you come from there. So you go, we got it right. Ladies and gentlemen, please join with me in thanking Ron and Mark.